I love to see the towns passing by and to ride these rails neath God's blue sky. Let me travel this land from the mountains to the sea, 'cause that's the life I believe He meant for me. And when I'm gone and at my grave you stand, say God called home your rambling man.
Welcome to Ramblin' Man Podcast episode number 161. This one's with Mike Jones. Mike Jones! But not that Mike Jones. This one is Mike Jones, the designer and brand builder. I met Mike years ago at Weapons of Mass Creation Festival in Cleveland, Ohio. And on here we talk about, him doing graphic design, him building brands, but we also talk heavily about Creative South. Creative South is a design conference that Mike helps put on based in Columbus, Georgia. It's coming up soon this year. It'll be April 11th through the 13th, and tickets are on sale now. It's a great event. It's a fun event. If you'd like to find out more about Creative South, go to creativesouth.com. Buy your tickets, plan your trip. There may be something I can announce at a later time, but we'll get there. But yeah, creativesouth.com. You can follow them on the social medias at Creative South GA. And if you want to follow Mike himself, you can follow him on Instagram at Bucket826. But yeah, Mike's a great guy. Big Mike. It's been good knowing him all these years. And we have a pretty fun time on this episode. And I appreciate him for coming on. Sponsor this week is Feral Giant. Feral Giant is a graphic design, illustration, and social media consultation company based here in Knoxville, Tennessee. So they do work for clients big and small all over the country, all over the globe, in fact. But they also do photography, videography, video editing, and audio editing, website design, SEO, writing, content development. Hell, they'll babysit your kids if it nets them money. So make sure you give them a follow on social media on either Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn at Feral Giant. And be sure to give them an email today and hire them for your next project. Without much further ado, here's the episode. Where are you originally from?
I'm from Columbus, Georgia, but I live in a little town right outside of Columbus called Catala, Georgia.
Catala.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Columbus, Georgia. Okay, so I don't know much about Columbus. I know it's on the border.
Yep.
But is it a smaller city? Is it a medium-sized city? What does Columbus look like?
I think Augusta will argue this point with us, but come on, Jason Craig, do it. Argue the point with me. But it supposedly is the second largest city in the state of Georgia because Fort Benning is here. Well, sorry, it's Fort Moore now, but I'm always going to call it Fort Benning because that's what I grew up knowing it as. But then the base is here.
Okay.
So the base is kind of included in the deal, but I still think it's one of the larger cities in the state. But it doesn't have a big city vibe at all. It's a small town vibe.
That's surprising to hear. I would think like Athens. I would have said Valdosta, but I've stayed in Valdosta and there is not much there. So
there's several major corporations here.
Okay.
The tallest building is the Aflac Tower. I think it's 19 stories. Other than that, most of the buildings are no taller than I think there's a 13-story building and like one 9-story that just got built. But other than that, there's not really any tall buildings. It's not a very big city. There's no real skyline yet.
Okay.
I mean, kinda, but not really.
Okay. And the most important question of all, Georgia, Auburn, or Alabama, since you're right there on that line.
For real? Go Dogs, baby. Okay, Let's go. Let's go.
Okay. Well, I had to ask because I'm spoiling when this is recorded because of the news yesterday about Saban leaving. So I had to ask.
Have a good retirement, bro. I'm like, I'm good for it. I'm good. He's a nice guy, but like, it doesn't affect me.
Yeah.
But go Dogs through and through. I think it was an interesting year of football. I'll say that. How about that?
Oh God. You're talking to a Tennessee fan. Of course, it was a weird year. It
The
was
weird.
such. It was a weird year.
I just think that I don't. If you're going to let all your players opt out,
Yeah.
and you're going to blame it on that, okay, Florida State. But you're 13-0 and you get beat 63-3. You do not belong in any. I don't care if all your healthy players were out there. You do not belong in the national
Yeah.
championship,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Whatever. It worked out like it's supposed to, but like Georgia still should have got to play for it. I think at the end of the day, if you win it,
Yeah.
you should always get to defend it. Like
Yeah.
you should get an automatic bye to the like you should get to defend the title that you won last year.
Huh.
If you can make it all the way there, you should be able to defend it without having to go through all the rigmarole. But that'll never be the case. I'm just saying.
No.
I think it would be.
Oh, I have many a soapbox uh yelling to get on top of for all of this. I hate the transfer stuff. It
Oh my
drives
God.
me nuts.
All that and if you can opt out of playing in the bowl game,
Hmm.
even playing football,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that makes like you're letting people that want to play, you're letting your team down by not joining that game. And
Yeah.
people are going to argue that point with me, but I don't care. Like you're there to play ball,
Yeah.
but you're going to sit on the bench because what?
Yeah.
Man, finish the season strong.
It
But
it does it I sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying that's just me. Like the way I grew up, it was if you started and you signed up to play on a team,
Yeah.
you didn't quit, you didn't sit out, like you went in there and you needed to know that the team was counting on you.
Yeah.
That's all. I'm
Yeah.
telling you.
How many former players got hurt in a bowl game who are now just kind of like, what the hell? Like what
Yeah.
we could have totally like drives me nuts. Yeah. Anyway, okay. Not here to talk football. Although football is a good topic to talk about, but
It's always a good topic. I don't care.
but some friends
We're
and
Southern, so it's always going to be a topic of conversation. So you know how that goes.
yeah, I've got friends and I that we watch the national championship together every year. And and literally one of my text threads is with a bunch of artists, and two of the guys did not know what was going on.
Like, didn't know the sport of football.
No, that I was like, all right, we're going to meet on Monday to watch the championship game. And they
They
were
didn't
like,
know there was a championship game going on.
no, I got the question, what championship game? What you're missing is Mike is both laughing and coughing at the same time.
The laughing caused the coughing. And yes, 100%. Like, who was it? Somebody said that to me. But I have a buddy that's a designer friend of mine, a good dear friend of mine. You might know, I'm gonna throw him under the bus right now because I love him to death. You know Kraus?
Name sounds familiar.
You probably met him. Anyway,
Yeah.
he's not he's not a sports guy. And he always, whenever I start talking about football or the seasons here or whatever, he's like, sports balls? What is this you speak of? And I'm like, all right, dude, never mind. Let's go back to something you can talk about.
Oh my God. Well, it was funny. The place that we go now is a German brewery that looks like a castle made out of cinder block in the middle of a neighborhood. And they were closed for their employee night and had the game on. And I kept watching people walk up and get turned away. I was like, y'all are idiots. Like, I love them. They're nice guys, but
Everybody in there.
yeah. Like,
Made a killing.
What are you doing?
Yeah. Good
So,
times. I love
okay.
them.
Okay. So you're from down there. What did your folks do for a living?
Oh, wow. Nobody ever asked that question. That's cool. So yeah, born and raised in Columbus, grew up as a county kid, which is like I said, I'm from Catala, which is it's inherent the county north of Columbus, this county. And my mom for golly 25 years or something, she was a dental hygienist in Atlanta. So she would commute to Atlanta every single day and work for like this one of the top dentists in the country that like did surgeries and dental cleanings and stuff for like famous people. So she would always regale us those stories of like who was in the office that day. And in fact, like when I was a kid, I'm a huge Braves fan too. I like Georgia sports, right?
Okay.
And I've been a Braves fan even when they were awful. Like back in this, 80s when the Braves were just garbage. I just loved them to death. And there was a guy that was um you're probably from Dale Murphy, one
Oh
of the
yeah.
greatest players ever. His wife would come into this particular office to get her teeth cleaned. And growing up, that was my favorite baseball player because he was on the ice cream and the milk ads from. I don't have my hat in here, but Connect Dairies was a local dairy
Hmm.
back when I was growing up. It was a big time thing. It's gone now, but the cow for Katie the cow is still here as an iconic landmark. They've since moved her from the hill she was on where the dairy was and put her in a downtown location. But they would make it's probably the best ice cream and milk and everything on the planet. And you would go to this place and tour. So Del Murphy was their spokesperson, my favorite baseball player back when I was a kid. And so mom was cleaning his wife's teeth one day and talking to her. And she was like, "Hey, my son is a huge fan of your husband. Would you mind getting a baseball sign for him?" And she's like, "Yeah, just bring me one. The next time I'm in the office, bring me one and I'll get it signed. I'll bring it back to you." And so she did that and she took it home and he signed it in his living room and she brought it back the next day and gave it to me. And I have it in
That's
the
awesome.
yeah, I was like, that was pretty cool story. Like, well, she got to meet a lot of famous people. And then my dad was, he was in textiles. So he worked for like Swift Mills and like he was in like, he did like, how do I explain it? The way that I understand it. It has stuff to do with like textile sales, but it was like selling the machines that dyed the denim that
Okay.
makes blue jeans. He would sell like dye machines and like big machines that had to do with like making denim and stuff,
Okay.
textile equipment, that sort of thing. But he would do that all over the world. So he would travel to like other countries for 2 or 3 weeks and come home and like bring us all these little cool knickknacks from like all over these different countries and show us all these cool pictures of the places he had been. And he did that when we were more younger, like a lot younger. And then as we got older, he would do that here, like he would do that kind of work here.
Okay.
They're both retired now, so.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
I do. I actually have younger brother Stuart. He lives in Tennessee. My folks have both remarried, so my mom and my stepdad live in Tennessee near my brother.
Okay.
And um, I have a let's see, what is it? A stepsister, yeah,
Yeah.
stepsister that lives here in town near us. And then my dad remarried, and I have two stepbrothers on that side that are grown.
Okay.
Yeah, that's about it.
It's
I
always,
don't see, I don't, I mean, I barely see any of them. Like out of all of them, I'm the oldest.
oh,
So like I'm 40, I'll be 46 next month. And so like I'm 45 now, my brother's 42. And
yeah.
then I think all my step siblings are like in their late 20s or early 30s.
God.
Yeah, they're like way younger than us. Like when I met them, I was like a grown man with kids and they were like in high school still.
Well,
Like folks met up.
I was going to say I was the only kid for 10 years and then
Nice.
started having cousins, and my little sister's 11 and a half years younger. So by the time they were even like 2 or 3, I was a default babysitter.
Oh, for sure.
Because I
For
was
sure.
like 13 or 14. And it was like, yeah, you take your little sister to school every day and pick her up.
Yeah, my kids are like that for their younger brother. Well, they were. They're now grown. So
Yeah. Okay. So were you into art as a kid? Did you like into comic books or cartoons or anything?
I think all that. I've been drawn since I could eat crayons, man. I mean, like real fat crayons. You know the ones I'm talking
Oh
about.
yeah.
I would sit on my grandmother's floor, and I would get pictures. Like we watched cartoons when we were little, and
Mhm.
I would draw like Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse and like Disney stuff and like all like this. I would just draw all the time. on anything I could find with crayons. When she would hang them on her fridge, and I used to do that all when I was little. And as I got older, into like art school, and I would do stuff for awards, and then you would take art every year in school, and I would just like thrive at it. And then when I got to like middle school, then I started getting into comics and doing like I would take like a collectible card, like a comic book card, and me and my friends would each take one, and then we would tape 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper together and make like a huge grid, and then blow that card up to like this giant poster, and then
Yeah.
frame them and hang them on our wall or bring them to school and like show them, right? Show them. I just knocked all kinds of crap off my desk
Oh.
one time. We would show them and stuff like that, and then as I got into high school, art was always it was every year it was something with art or doing that, win the Purchase Award and do all these things, and then when I got to college, I knew I wanted to do something with art, but I didn't know about design yet.
Okay.
And then I heard about it. I was like, well, I like video games. I like drawing. I like this. I love computers. Maybe I'll just see what this is about. And then once I got into it, I fell in love with it. And then from there, it's like, I want to do this and I want to get better at it all the time. So I would find mentors. I'd find internships. I would do all kinds of stuff.
Okay. Going backwards, like because of what your parents did they like encourage you to draw and like really embolden you to draw or create artwork? Because it doesn't sound like it was their field or their
It was not.
Yeah.
It was not. My granddad on my dad's side, he loved to draw, but he just did it as an outlet, just for fun. He would always doodle and stuff and be like, "Oh, look at this cool." My dad would kind of doodle some. My dad liked the technical side of the engineering kind of drawings more than anything,
Mhm.
but they would always encourage art, but it was never like, you should do this for a living. Like, I mean, if you grew up when I grew up,
Yeah.
you're going to starve yourself to death if you do that. Like, you need to go to the business, or you need to do sales, or you need to do like what they did, and I was just like, nah, that sounds so boring. I just don't want to do that. And I didn't. And I'll never forget calling my dad up one day and I was like, hey, I picked a major. He's like, oh, yeah, you ready for business? I'm like, nope. He's like, what is this? I was like, art. He was like, ah. I just remember him going like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I just enjoy it, Dad. He's like, what are you going to do for a living? I was like, I don't know, but this design thing it feels good. Something there.
Yeah.
And then as I got older and I got into my profession and he got to hear all the stories and see all the work, and he realized like he's taking care of a family, he's doing his thing, he's doing, I think the perspective changes on like what art is and what the perception of art is and what art really is, or what it can be, what design can bring to your life and what you can do with it and how you can make a living with it. And now it's just like they couldn't see me doing anything else except cooking. Like I would totally be a chef if I wasn't behind the computer all day. And I might still be one day. I might open a restaurant. That might be my next thing, y'all. I'm serious. That might be my retirement plan. But yeah, they weren't never discouraging though. It was always, we know you love art, so go love it. But until they saw it, it wasn't like, oh, this is a for real profession. Like, but now they get it.
I think my parents, it was just, you have to go to college. They didn't care.
Oh,
and
that was always a given too.
And I had already had 4 years of graphic arts in high school because we were a vocational school. So they already saw that I was doing something that was productive. Although to this day, if you ask my dad, what does he do as a graphic designer? He would be like, he designs menus for restaurants and stuff. I've designed like one menu my entire life. Like, it's hilarious.
He makes t-shirts for a living.
Yeah.
I mean, he kind of sometimes, I guess.
My dad was a truck driver for like 40 something years, and mom worked for the phone company. So it was, she got a job a week after she turned 18 and stayed there for 31 years. She had to stay an extra year to make up for having me and my little sister.
That's wild.
Which is stupid, but it's also
pretty still cool.
Yeah. And then Dad, God, he just kept working. I think he was just like, I'm gonna just keep doing this.
Ain't
until
nothing
he finally got the age. He was always a little bit more cautious. I'm like, I'm gonna wait until I turn the age where I can start drawing Social Security before I leave here because I don't trust any of this stuff. So,
oh, for sure.
but yeah, it's hilarious the two of them, and they did not still until I got a real job. They were just like, I don't understand.
What is it that you do again?
Yeah, yeah. Well, the funniest is my mom was the best, and that she was never let me get too arrogant or humble. And this
Mhm.
is still, I love telling this story because it shows how sweet and brutal she is. Because I've done a lot of big things. When I worked at PetSafe, some of the packaging I did got sent all over the world. Hun-
Yeah.
100 million people have seen my work, and and we were talking about something. I was like. I'm good at this. I did it, and I'm like defending myself. And she's like, oh, that's sweet, baby. And
Oh,
and she was just like, that's okay, baby. But I still need you to do this thing. I was like, oh my God. I was
aren't
like, God.
parents great?
I was like, God love you, mom. But it was
Yeah.
just so funny. It was like, okay, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they never like just, and it was wild, like changing jobs and stuff. One time I called my dad and I was like, I don't know what to do. He was like, well, if you're not happy, you need to leave. I was like, okay. That's all it took. I was like, okay, I'm moving on. Uh, but yeah, they were very much like, just have a job.
Oh, I think that should be
Yeah.
it's a key to survival. But yeah, how you do it is different.
Yeah. Okay. And going back a little bit, do you remember like one piece in particular, like one cartoon or one art piece or something that made you that kind of flipped something in your brain to that it was a thing?
Oh man. That it was like for real, or that it was that I
Or
was
that
getting
it
that
was
like
almost like something you owned, like you saw, I don't know, a Norman Rockwell painting or a logo or something, and it was just like, oh, whoa, like it stood out to you. Do you remember anything like that?
man, there's so many things. But also like I can't remember half of high school from accidents and stuff. So it's like, where do I even go with that? Like I think there's so many pieces of mine that like have different elements of my life, but
Okay.
like I remember this one piece. It never saw the light of day. It never went anything. I did it for fun. I did it for practice. I did it to just up a skill, but it always stands out in my mind as one of those like pieces that clicked for me in my mind of,
Uh,
okay, I'm understanding this way better than I ever had. And that's kind of where I saw a pivot point in my like journey to growth, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one of my fraternity brothers is Zach Brown,
Oh, okay.
musician. And when I was in college, I did before he was famous, I did an album cover for him and I shot all the photography on 35 miller 35 millimeter black and white film, developed it myself in the dark room at the school and like sent all the assets to an actual designer because I didn't know what that was at the time. And that person put the art together. But I did all the photography. And um when he became famous, I was looking through his stuff one day and I was practicing lettering in Illustrator.
Mhm.
And I remember doing this piece. It's still in my dribble. It's like way, way back in my dribble, like the second or third piece I did in dribble. And I remember teasing it out there and then showing the whole thing eventually. And I was like, did this for fun. I tagged him in it and all these things. And nothing ever happened with it. But I learned a different trick on like how to do some hand lettering, but then like build letters from scratch and then like how to make them 3D a little bit and extrude them and all these things, which I had never really messed with now. And now I feel like, hand lettering is part of my arsenal a good bit. So it's kind of, but that's that one piece. I just remember like the work pivoted from there. Like
Mhm.
everything, I really paid more attention to detail. I really paid more attention to the tools. I really paid more attention to like the process behind how I was getting the results I was starting to get. And I just remember that standing out to me as like a growth point, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, totally.
And that's
Totally.
right when I got on dribble, and that kind of helped me grow too. So it's kind of like this parallel of joining a community, kind of doing this, starting Creative South, doing and like just kind of it just kind of all went up from there.
Okay. Okay. All right. Now we're going to go. So, time to go to school. You tell your dad you want to do art.
Yep.
Where did you go off to college?
West Georgia.
West Georgia. Okay. And did they have they had a graphic design program there?
Sure. Yeah, they did.
Oh,
Well, they did. They did. I say that with all due respect.
okay.
Professor was the most amazing, Mr. Binion, the most amazing illustrator by hand. Like his work with graphite would blow your mind. I mean, it was so realistic and just like detailed and everything. But back then, design was getting taught. The way design was getting taught is like you learned the principles, you learned the theories, you learned all the basics, you learned all the stuff around what design was and what the theory of it was. And then when you put it into practice, we were using like Macromedia 5, a freehand 5 or whatever it was, and on the Bubble Max, the ones that look like they're like the fish tank with the colored back. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I still have one of those in my basement. So yes, I totally know.
So like if I had known what I know now, then my work would be 10 million times better than it is. But that's where I started. And I didn't go to a traditional art school. I went to a liberal arts college with an art program.
Mhm.
I have a BFA in studio art, specializing in graphic design and ceramics.
Huh?
So I did both. I went all the way through graduate level ceramics just because it was like it was my stress reliever at night. I just go up there at 2 or 3 in the morning, throw some pots, whatever. But I got the degree. It's hanging in the house. But I would say I got my base knowledge of what design was and I started learning it. But then once, software changes so fast and all the things happened, it wasn't really till I got out and I started interning and getting a mentor that like things really started changing. And then like I graduated in 01 from college, and I think it was like 2 or 3 years later, maybe 4 or 5 years later, to where the work started going from like this college portfolio that was to like work that was actually decent to now it's night and day from where I was then.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But I've been doing it for 23 years, man.
Yeah.
So stuff's
So
kind of changed.
when I first started Feral Giant, I had my college portfolio. So every Thursday I'd post it as a throwback Thursday and I would critique it. And how brutal I was to 18, 19-year-old Jody.
Oh
It was
man.
just mean. It was just mean.
I wish I could do that. I had my portfolio in one of those like leather bound
Oh yeah.
giant things.
Yeah.
And I never forget I was going to a Bible study one morning and I had it in the trunk. And I was already working and professional, but I just kept it in there because I don't know why I was moving or something. I never took it out. Anyway, I pulled up at a McDonald's in Columbus, left the car running, hopped out, ran inside to the counter, was getting some biscuits for the Bible study. Come back out, somebody had stole my car.
Oh my God.
And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And like it had like a birthday gift, like a Christmas gift in there for my son, and like my portfolio and all this other stuff. I never got any of that stuff back. So like all that work got destroyed. But I have bits and pieces that I found
Yeah.
online that I saved through the years. And if you saw it and you're like, well, that's what you were doing for logos, you would recognize it as what people were doing at the time.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
what they had, and it was like
Oh yeah.
awful. Like when I look at it now, I'm like, oh man, I thought that was the stuff, and it is just awful.
I'm trying to look where my portfolio is. Oh, it's on
You know
down
what I'm
here.
talking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a CD design that's still in my little mini portfolio just because I think it's wild that it does not fit in because it's for some metal band out of Kentucky but it is totally of the time. If you look at it, you're like,
100%. You know what I mean?
yeah. Okay, so you graduate college with that degree. Was it
Yep.
hard getting a job specifically in design with that, or had you had internships that helped with that?
I had an internship, started working there for peanuts.
doing like web design and like basic logo stuff.
Mhm.
And then I ended up coming back home and started working for this one company as their only designer, and I worked there for a long time. And then I just had a few different jobs after that, and then I started my own thing, and then Creative South, and now I work for Heyo as
Okay.
senior brand designer there.
What was there something about branding that kind of just clicked for you and made you want to kind of focus on it a little bit more?
I love telling the story of
Okay.
what the company's trying to tell. Like I love to show that in a mark and something simple, right? And I love like that you can put it on stuff and wear it and like make things with it. Like I just like all those little intricate things. I like how you can take something that's simple but had a lot of meaning into it, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Oh, yeah.
that's what really draws me to that versus all the other types of design. And I think because of that, I kind of like leaned into lettering more. I just started falling in love with lettering and being able to add that like rustic, authentic kind of
Mm.
vintage vibe into my work. And a lot of my work has that kind of vibe sometimes. And so, yeah, I don't know. And then add an illustration there because I just love to draw. And so, because of that, you kind of get like, you can do sports branding, you can do, there's all kinds of things you can do if you kind of mix and match those skill sets.
Do you create any art now for fun? Do you just do stuff just for giggles?
Wow. I mean, yeah, but it's not like it never nobody ever sees it. You know what
Oh,
I
no,
mean?
that's
Like
fun. Yeah,
it's
just
like I'll do it in my sketch on like my iPad. I'll just doodle around and mess around, and I just flip the next page and do some more while I'm just sitting around. But a lot of times I'm doing that for any people anyway, so it ends up being a project down the road or something I'm doing for a buddy or just like, okay, well, I don't think I have it standing. Oh, it's my truck. But like the hat I'm wearing, right?
Sure.
I didn't do this artwork, but I love the clean room. And like, so last year I did a hat that was a bucket of chicken. It was a bucket of chicken working out with a dumbbell, eating a chicken leg, and it's called Leg Day. And like it got into Clink Room and they made the hat and they sold the hat and you get a cut of it and then your hat's like lives on in infamy with all these collectors. And so like this is a community called the Clink Room where like
Yeah.
all these designers are making stuff and like this is the kind of work that gets done on there. I mean, I literally am sitting next to like I have 15 hats so just on my desk and I
Yeah.
probably have 65 hats sitting in here. But I love it because it's custom art, it's fun, it's just a way to do stuff. So like last year for Christmas time, I did it won't go until probably next Christmas, but I did Santa and he's swinging a candy cane like gonna crush a snowball.
Nice.
And it's just silly stuff like that. I'll do that kind of doodling stuff in my book. And I don't know. I used to draw like portraits and stuff when I was younger. I haven't done a lot of that lately. I've done about 4 or 5 of them over my lifetime that I've given as gifts to people. But I don't know. I want to get more back in, like a little more back into just doing art for fun.
Yeah.
We'll see how that plays out in 2024. But most of the time, I mean, the art I do now is for fun, even though I get paid to do it. I still do it. It's for fun,
Right.
like when you enjoy what you do, you don't really work. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I love what I do, and I think every bit of it. So even the stuff that's not so great is still you can find joy in it.
Yeah. Do you do ceramics ever anymore?
I haven't,
Okay.
but it's something you don't forget how to do. Like once you learn how to do it,
Okay.
it's like riding a bike. I might not have ridden a bike in 10 years, but I can get on one right now and ride down the street.
Okay.
If you put clay in front of me, put me on a wheel, I can throw you a pot.
We've got this massive studio here called Mighty Mud that they do classes and everybody has their own individual booths. Like it's insane and it's so good. I love it
Super fun.
that's part of our community or our
What part of
community.
Tennessee do you live in?
Huh?
What part of Tennessee do you live in?
I live in Knoxville.
So that's where my mom was born.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
So she was born in Knoxville, raised in Packlet, South Carolina.
Okay.
And because her dad worked for Milliken
Okay.
Mills.
Yeah.
And so Packlet was a mill town, and the town's no longer there. The town is like the streets and roads are there, but like that, the town she grew up in, the part she grew up in,
Yeah.
Milltown,
Yeah.
is gone. But she's from there, and they live in Smyrna.
Oh, yeah.
My
Yeah.
stepdad is the town manager for Smyrna, so they live in Smyrna, Tennessee. My brother lives in Murfreesboro,
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm up there every Thanksgiving. So next time we got to get up on the way up and
Yeah. Oh,
do
yeah.
across and do some lunch or coffee or something.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I'm born and raised here, and all my family is from here. So it is very much great. In fact, the high school I went to, everyone in my family went to that high school.
That's
Even
how
my Yeah, even my grandmother who went back and got her GED went to that high school. She's from Kentucky.
that's
But
fantastic.
yeah, it's insane.
I went to the county high school here. There's only one high school in our county. I went there, and then all my kids went there. So it's been fun to see some of the same teachers teach my kids, which is funny.
See, I bet you were different than my family because my family knew the teachers and made them pick on me. When I was, or they were
Oh, no,
teachers.
there were days like that. I'm like, hey, just give her a hard time, or give them a hard time. Like, please, especially like I loved my calculus teacher, and she ended up teaching one of my kids math. And I was
Yeah.
like, just screw with her the whole time. Just mess with her. I don't care
Oh my
what you do.
God.
She's going to get her work done, but just give her a hard time because you just every day you're like, I know your dad. You know what I mean? Like just that kind of stuff just irritates the kids so bad. But no, they all turned out good. So like I said, 3 of mine are grown, and I've got one that's in still in middle school. So good times.
That's amazing. I will give you this one. So my uncle who graduated like 78 after everybody else, he came up there. I had been in school like a week, but I'd
Yeah.
been playing football. So I'd been around the coaches for
Oh, yeah.
2 months. So I walk in and all the coaches, they all stood in a line on the third floor, like basketball, baseball, football, all of them stood together, watching everyone come in. And they looked at me and they're like, Jody. And I walked past and my uncle went, wait, what did you call him? And they're like, Jody. And they're like, no, 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 no. That's my niece, Judy. And so the coaches called me Judy all 4 years.
Really? Dude.
I would walk into the locker room and one of the coaches would be like, Judy.
Oh, he did the what is that from?
Andy Griffith Show.
Oh, Andy Griffith. Yeah.
But yeah,
not Gomer Pyle, but his cousin.
yeah. Goober.
Goober. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
hilarious.
so I got called Judy. So like I said, and what my like algebra 2 teacher went to high school with my dad and mom. So
Oh,
I walked in first day and he was like, Mr. Collins. I was like,
you can't escape it at that point.
no.
And you're a big dude like me, so it's not like you're not noticeable at that point either.
So I will say, and also my freshman algebra teacher, Mr. Baldwin, played linebacker for the Bears.
Oh, dope.
He was a bodyguard for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
No way.
He hated freshmen. And he told me, he was like, if you can do 100 push-ups, every football player should do 100 push-ups every day. If you can do 100 push-ups, I'll give you a C in this class and you never have to do any homework. Maybe it was a B, whatever it was. And I made it to like 50 something and I couldn't do any more. I was a big old lineman, man. I can't do.
Who are you talking to, bro?
I know.
How long did you play ball, right?
I did. I football, basketball, baseball, threw shot put, and then I boxed for 10 years after high school.
Hey,
Yeah.
dude. When you play what position?
Offense and defensive line. Most of the time we had to go 2 ways, but I was better at defensive line. Offensive line was too much of, if they're in this formation, you have to, I was like, just let me go after the ball.
Yeah, I follow you. I played O-line my whole career in football. Played center every year.
So, and it was funny. I still love this. There's another guy. So me, tall, bigger guy. We had another guy, Damien, short, but weighed more than me.
Oh, yeah,
Like
I know.
Yeah, he was a fire plug like of a dude. And we
Sit in the hole. Man. All you gotta do is plug up this hole. I got it. Yeah.
so we played against one team and they were afraid to run to my side, so they ran to his side and he got like 11 tackles that game.
You helped him out, bro.
Every time I would get up and grab two of their linemen and push them back, and they would go, nope, and run the.
That's hilarious. I bet you're a beast on the field, man.
It was fun. I started having like heart problems in high school,
Yeah.
and I ended up giving it up. I couldn't do it. There was a guy around here who was 18, had signed letter of intent to UT, and then died at 18 of a heart failure. And I had his picture hanging up in my room. And when I started having heart issues, I was like, I gotta stop. I gotta stop for a bit and figure out what's going on here.
That's wild, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm glad you're all right.
Yeah. Knock on all the wood. But
right.
it's funny that I kept playing like basketball and baseball never affected me. Boxing never affected me. They said it was like muscle spasms or something. I was like, I still don't. I don't know. It hurts when I play football. It doesn't hurt when I do anything else.
Hey, why chance it?
Yeah. Yeah.
With you, man.
Okay. So you're out there in the workforce, working for different people. Then you go to this weird town in northern Ohio to this conference called Weapons of Mass Creation Festival.
Yeah.
So, because I think we figured out we went every year. Like I went to the second year. That was my first year.
Same.
Because I think the first year it was in like a rec room, and it was only local people, from what Jeff had told me.
That's what I heard, but I came year 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was at like it had this space that was like I just remember being a long kind of space, and then they had like a back porch area that had like some bands going on with like a gate in front of it, and like I mean it was kind of spread out in this one location. Looked like a side of the road shopping, not a shopping mall, but like a bunch of stores that were, you know what I mean? Like a curio storefront, I guess, or something like that.
And it was even weird in like where the artists were. I remember they were in a building that looked like it was about to be tore down.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It just felt all kind of, but it was fun, man. I had such a good time. Like, it had that like welcoming vibe, you know, and it was fun. And I just remember leaving there going, I could put something like this together. Like this makes sense to me in my head. Could Columbus host something?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I came home with. And after talking about that to myself and like just thinking through it, and then I was following this other conference called Montreal Meets. It was up in Canada, and it just clicked. Like called a buddy up. Was like, hey, I'm going to do this thing. You want to help out? And he was like, yeah. And we just kind of planned it. And the next thing you know, we had 45 people show up at the very first one. So
that's insane.
Humbling and fun and nerve wracking. And I don't know, all the emotions, I guess, for it, because you just didn't know what you're doing, you know? And I think that was the beauty of starting something new.
I think that's kind of how they felt up there. Jeff was just trying to hold it together.
But he did. He did a good job, and it showed. I mean, it went 10 years.
And I even laughed that because I worked for a company that would send me to conferences. They would not pay for that one, but they would pay for me to go to HAL and Die-Line.
Yeah.
And it was like Weapons was the farm league for HAL and Die-Line.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And I think all the DIY or conference organizers, you know, we see it and feel it and have all been in that position. So I loved going to that one. It was a lot of fun, and that's where Ink Wars was born out of, and then it ended up becoming ours after years, and we would go back and forth each year, there and here, and it's good, man. I had some good times. A lot of awesome people up there.
Yeah.
That's how it went down.
I'm still connected to a lot of people up there, and it's wild. Okay, so you come back and you start Creative South. And you said 45 people the first year?
Yep, we didn't really. It wasn't the same as it is now. It was only half a day. Jeff Finley and Von Glitchko were my first two
Hmm.
speakers ever, and it was just like I said, half a day. We had donuts and coffee. We had some t-shirts and hats and some like really simple swag, and some stickers, I think. And we called it the Artist Roundup, and it kind of just grew from there, And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, 45 people showed up, and we just thought we were the stuff. It was like, we do this thing, we're awesome, And then you quickly realize as years go by, I was like, why did that take so many months to plan a half a day of thing when now it's 3 or 4 days long? It
Yeah.
takes me, 8 months to plan it, and then it took me 8 months to plan like a half a day. Like the perspective has changed because
Yeah.
like things as you do them longer and longer you do them, you streamline these processes. You get awesome people to come in and help, and you build teams around you that are better than you at doing the things you hate doing. And now it's not. Well, it takes the same amount of time. It has more people. It's just different. It's not as the grind isn't as crazy as it was on year one. But yeah, it went from 45 to 65 people and 4 speakers on year 2 to 20 speakers on year 3 with 200 people, and then it just started doubling, and then it leveled off, and 800,000-900,000 folks one year,
Jeez.
and then COVID happened.
Yeah.
And
I
now
think I
we're-
watched your live when COVID happened. Of just like it, I
Yeah.
felt so bad for it. It was so
That was different, man. That was different, but it needed to happen, and we missed being told to shut down
Hmm.
versus choosing to be shut, like choosing to postpone versus being told to postpone.
yeah.
Missed it by one day. So like the day after we announced, the city closed, and it was like, yeah, we were on the right
Yeah.
we're on the right path and chose the right direction. So that was reassuring, but it was, it was also, I mean, I was telling a buddy of mine this earlier today. I was also real nice to have 2 years off to just veg and think through how we want to work it and think through things that didn't work and think through things that did, and just kind of not have the stress of doing any of those things, even though I welcome it and I enjoy it and it's important. And I think community in your career is valid and very important. It was nice to have a couple years off to just kind of think to like look back on it.
Yeah.
And so now that we're in the rebuilding years of trying to get community back together, have more face time, it's interesting to see how the world has changed as a whole
Hmm.
with events and public places and the economy of things and how much things cost to put on and not only put on but go to. So, it's definitely different, but it's where I need to be, and I'm gonna keep doing it until God doesn't want me to any longer. So,
Right.
yeah.
Well, you probably have a lot in you. We'll talk about this more later, but you have a lot in you like I do. Because I had went to Jeff, I think probably at the same time you were starting Creative South. I was like, if you ever want to branch out in the South, I'd love to do it down here.
Yeah, man.
But my thought was to do it in the fall. Like I really want to have, because my thought was I want people to experience Knoxville, and Knoxville in the fall is like
Tennessee is beautiful. Yeah.
it's something
Yeah, I
special.
mean, it is very special. But in Columbus, it wouldn't have mattered. Like,
Yeah.
the fall's the fall. I mean, it would have been good, but like the difference is the mountains where you're at. It's just different
Yeah.
beauty. It would make sense.
But like I thought through it, started looking at everything, and he was like, "You're just going to have to do it on your own." And I was like, "If I do this, I will die before I will not have one every year." You know what I mean? Like once I turn on that tap, I do not turn it on, and that's why I haven't done it. Like it's just, I was like, because I know once I do it, this is going to take up a lot of my time.
It does. It
Yeah.
does. But I get asked all the time, how do you have time to do all that? How do you have
Yeah.
time to have family, have this, work full time, run a foundation, own soccer teams, blah, 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 all the things. How do you have time to do all that? And the key is to you put the people in place that you don't have to babysit. You go get the folks that love what you're doing and want to be a part of it. and you can delegate it out to, that's how you get it done. That's how you have time to do everything, because you brought in an amazing team to help
Yeah.
you. And if everybody thinks that we're just sitting here and it's just me doing all, it's not.
Yeah.
I couldn't. I would go nuts. I would never have time for my family or anything else going on if it was just me. And anybody that tells you it's just them, I guarantee you has help somewhere. They've
Yeah.
got to. If they're doing it with everything else that I would have on my plate. So I'm very grateful for all that help and all those awesome people.
So now, so now COVID passes, you had 2 years off. Were there big changes that you made or you all made?
Coming back, the main change was just being real respectful of people's, what's the word I'm looking for? Their comfort level of interaction with other folks.
Okay.
So we brought in and we added like colored wristbands for the last couple of years that basically say, like a red is just wave at me. Yellow is like elbow and fist bump kind of situation, and then green is all out, let's hug necks. And
yeah,
and I would just hug necks for anybody want to hug. I didn't wear a bracelet. I just like, look, I'm on green all the time. I'm not wearing a mask, not because I don't believe in it. Like, you do you, I'm gonna do me. And if you don't want me near you, I'm gonna wave at you and tell you I love you from over here, and that'll be that, and that's fine. But that was the biggest change, is just seeing the level of, like, just trying to understand everybody's comfort level on interacting with each other. And then now, fast forward another 2 years, it's just seeing like the economy change. So things are more expensive to go to, things are more expensive to host and put on. Like, everything's just more expensive, and I get it. And then people just have gotten used to being at home and being at, not traveling as much. And you combine both of those things, like, numbers are going to be lower. So you're going to have smaller events with, it's still the same impact, still the same level of, like, relationship building and intimacy, and like all the things that, like, you really want to do to like get close knit connections, but because of where we're all at in the current climate, if that makes any sense.
Oh yeah.
So you had to kind of shift with it, and I'm okay with that. Like, having a little smaller is fine. I'd love to hit 400, 500 people again.
Yeah.
And we're tracking for that, but we'll see. But at the end of the day, no matter if there's 2 people there or 600, I want them to always feel at home.
Well, and I think not only the one other thing that doesn't get talked about, I think, enough, is also getting the word out is a million times harder right now, because there's so much stuff going on. A lot of the social medias don't have the reach they used to, or they're trying to get you to pay for reach. Because I do so much marketing and SEO work, where I'm like, I don't want to invest any money in Facebook, because Facebook is doing nothing for a lot of companies.
And I don't.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, it's also, I feel like it's harder to get the word out, because I think the first weapons I heard about, I found out on like Kickstarter. I just stumbled upon them.
But think about that. Back then, the social media wasn't as big, and now it's like, where are the designers posting the most stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to post on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Those are or in that new one. What's that one with the circle with the, what is it called? Threads. Throw something on Threads, and maybe do something on TikTok.
Yeah.
Right. Like, utilize the platforms we're using to post our work, because if they're there doing that already, they're going to be there for, like, hey, the announcement. And still email, like, newsletters and stuff, because some people they keep track of their inbox a little easier.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how we're getting the word out, and it's slow, but it is, like I said, it is what it is. We're gonna have a good time no matter what. And I want to welcome anybody to show up that's never been, and I want to welcome back anybody that's been a bunch of times. We want to see you. It's our chance to catch up and hang out. So, tickets are on sale. Go get them.
I was going to say, if this was a video podcast, it'd be like flashing tickets.
Buy now. Yeah, I'm with
Or
you.
we turn into local wrestling Sunday, Sunday, Sunday.
100%. Please throw some graphics on there. I'll think it'd be.
It's
Yeah,
audio only. Sorry, it's
audio only.
yeah.
Well, it's worth a shot.
Um,
Just
yeah,
make
sorry.
turn the volume way up when that happens.
Yeah, I was going
Yeah.
to say I've gotten out of the habit of it, and I need to get back in the habit of it. Being around people in your own field for a elongated part of time, like not just like a lunch and learn or something, is a complete and utter game changer. Like
100% community is going to grow your
yeah,
career. I
yeah,
will say it always. And it's not in the networking sense. Don't come to network. Like I don't want you to show up and hand me your business card and say, nice to meet me, and then walk on. Like I can learn all I need to learn about your work by looking you up online.
yeah,
I want to get to know the person behind the work. Because if that relationship gets built,
yeah,
those are the people that I want to do work with. Those are the people I'm more likely to hire to do a project. Those are, you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
all those things matter. And so that's what I'm trying to foster this place to come and build those relationships, get inspired. Here's some really amazing content about current topics. So you come back not only inspired and have made these new friends and family, but you're charged with this new content. So that's the whole point. That's the whole point of it.
yeah. I think
My video just cut out. All right, it doesn't matter. You said it was sound only. I could be.
I was going to say it I don't know. I don't know. I can't put into words right now how important it is to get out there and be around people.
I'm with
Like
you.
not even from a COVID standpoint, just from a like a
Human interaction with other humans face to face. Period.
mental well-being standpoint.
It is. It is very much so.
Yeah. And it's funny the people I have met over the years that it's hilarious to me that it's like, oh yeah, we just happened to meet this one time. And because of that, we're still connected. Like this was right before COVID. Nick, I can't pull his last name, the dude who owns Mama's Sauce down in Florida.
Sombrado.
Okay, so I was visiting friends in St. Augustine and then went down to Orlando to interview. Crap, now I'm going to forget their names. There's a couple that have probably been to Creative South out of Orlando, and I can't pull their names. A guy and a girl. They do a lot of merch. Can't pull it.
Hellcats.
Hellcats. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I went and interviewed them while I was down there. And then I messaged Nick and I was like, hey, can I come see the shop? And he took me on a tour himself.
You're
And we
talking about Clark Orr.
Clark Orr. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah,
Clark and Bethany. I think.
yeah, they're awesome.
But because I was down there, I went and visited Mama's Sauce, and Nick and I stood around and talked for like 2 hours.
Love that. I did that too when he doesn't own it anymore.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I did the exact same thing when I was in Orlando. I went and did that, toured Real Thread, toured Mama Sauce. Yeah, good times. Great people. Great people.
So, but Nick, I met, it was so funny. I was talking to him and I was like, oh yeah, you're with Mama's. I was like, oh yeah, I love print. And I started talking about printing and he had handed me a card out of like his right pocket. He's like, here you go. Here's your card. I was like, cool. And I started talking to him more. He's like, oh wait, you actually know what you're talking about. So he reached in his left pocket and he was like, here you go. And it was his personal card with his actual phone number.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
One was sorry.
Here's my networking card.
Yeah.
But here's the card that I really want you to have because you're a cool person.
Yeah. I still remember that. He's like, oh, you actually know what you're talking about. Here you go.
That's hilarious.
Okay. It's Creative South. Okay. So now we'll get into like the rapid, future planning and stuff. So what is something you would like to see more of in art and creativity and design?
Good night. I don't know. Like, give me an example.
Like, so mine is, I want to see more. So I grew up pretty poor and in rough neighborhoods and rough environments. I would like to see more underprivileged kids get more opportunity to do art or display their artwork. Like that's a wealth inequality is a huge thing for me. I was like, I want to see more kids getting out there and realizing they can do it.
I think I'm in that same line. I'd like to see a better deep dive into what design is in I mean, at all levels have it introduced, but at the high school level, instead of doing the graphic design track that they say is graphic design or communication arts or whatever, like teach that, but also have a true designer track
Mhm.
that is not like learning the press and learning all that. Like have that, like, they need to have both of them. They need to have one where you're learning the commercial side of it on how to run the equipment, how
Mhm.
to, you know how to do all the things to set up a proper file. But then you also have a class that is like straight up design where you're learning all the fun, cool stuff too, right? Like you're
Yeah.
doing projects that you would get in the real world that's not just production art, but actually like design. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yep.
Like because what they're teaching, at least where I'm at, is they're teaching a little bit of design, but the curriculum is more focused for kids that won't go anywhere, but won't go to school after high school and
Mhm.
that will graduate and go to a trade. And that
Mhm.
trade is commercial art, being like they're going to run a press, they're going to run a cutter, they're going to run a plate maker, they're going to do something where there's some like design, but it's like design a brochure in InDesign, and that's great. But like teach that as one track, but then also have a track that is like the other side of design, where it's
The-
just like UX UI, the branding, the lettering, the illustration, the like all the other things over here. So you have the best of both.
Yeah.
And I mean, they might be doing that in a lot of other places, but where I'm at, they're not doing that. I'd like to see some of that.
So
And
I will say my old high school, they got rid of all the presses and stuff because the newer teachers do not know how to run them. So the one teacher that's up there, she will be like, okay, we're going to just work on packaging design this semester.
nice, that's what
And
I'm talking about.
yeah,
That's cool to me.
yeah.
They still do the old version where they teach you all of it at my alma mater. But
Oh,
that's
okay.
different places are going to be teaching different things.
Yeah.
I like to see the kids coming up that are excited about a profession in creativity.
Okay.
I'm with you. Other than that, uh, I think one thing I'd love to see is places that have in-house teams, like big Fortune 500 types people, have a better understanding of what the culture of our profession needs to be, and also value what our profession is and what it can contribute. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm laughing because when I work for PetSafe, I got to pull this up. Hold on just a second.
No, you're good. You're good. I think I made my point. Like, say what you need to say without saying what you need to say. All right.
So when I worked at PetSafe, a lot
Oh,
of
let
their
me turn on the Jeopardy music real quick. All right, go ahead.
they were it was a lot more production design, not creative.
Yeah, I get that.
So I came in there and I love graphic design and I take this very seriously.
Yeah.
And a lot of the other people were more production people.
Mhm.
And so I walk in
You
there
need
and
them. Don't like we're not knocking production folks. If you're
no,
hearing
no,
this,
no, not at all. Not at all.
valued and needed.
So I walk in there. There was zero brand equity in the name PetSmith. PetSafe. The logo was really small on all the boxes. The boxes were black with gold ink. They looked terrible. God love them.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah. So I was like, well, there's no brand equity. So here is what I would do as a package.
Yeah.
And I designed all four sides, and they called this around the office the big ass logo box.
That's hilarious.
And like we got into a room with senior staff And half of them were like, holy crap, this is where we need to be going. And the
Yeah.
other half got angry at me.
Because you were
And-
changing what they
Yes.
had always done.
Yep. So they rejected this idea, and we had an ad agency that we were paying an ungodly amount of money, and they didn't do a lot of work.
This sounds so familiar, dude.
Yeah. So they came back with the front of a package, which was this blue halo and this chalkboard swoosh.
Ugh.
And so all they had was the front. So I had to design the rest of the box. So I took a lot of my elements and ideas and implement them. I was like, we need to do icons. We're translating to 3 languages. We don't need to put text on here. Like doing more illustration work.
Yeah.
And about 6 months later, I went into the gas station and saw something and brought it back one of the senior staff members who did not believe in me. And it was this. And he looked at it, he was like, you were ahead of the game. I was like, I was ahead of the game.
Yep.
And
That's awesome, man.
and then like, so that was for like Petco, PetSmart, all the premium level stuff. So then when it came to design the packaging for the Home Depot, Lowe's, all that, I did this where I did this overlay that was going to be a gloss, a matte varnish.
Spot varnish. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Spot varnish. And I made it look very like more modern. This is like 2011.
Yeah.
Like it's not that crazy now, but it was a little bit then. And the greatest compliment I ever got is the team from PetSmart came into the office and they had it in their contract that they could review that packaging we did for Home Depot and Lowe's. They walked in. Now remember, this is from an ad agency that we paid tens of thousands of dollars. They saw that and they're like, you can't do that in Lowe's and Home Depot. That looks better than the packaging we have in our stores now. And 2 of the senior staff members ran up there to tell me that afterwards. They were so excited.
That's awesome.
They actually brought me down to meet those people. And I was like, what are we doing? I'm up here in shorts, man. Like, just leave me alone.
I'm not in front of people kind of person right now. Okay.
Yeah. I was in shorts and a t-shirt.
That takes it back to the culture of knowing the culture of the people you have employed.
Yeah.
And fostering that culture and not making them conform to like the corporate culture that is driving the rest of the company. Like I think you got to have both. You got to have a little bit of the culture of the creatives that you have on your staff. So I'd like to see more of that moving forward.
So that's why I laughed when you said that.
Dude, you got it. You know.
Yeah. So it's funny. I left there and I came back years later as a contract employee when I was doing Feral Giant. And the engineers got excited. They're like, are you going to go up there and clean house? I was like, what do you mean? They're like, you never held your tongue in meetings and we need that here.
Did you?
No, they didn't want me.
Permission.
I actually, no, the engineers were not in charge. The senior staff did not. Yeah. So I did go up there and I was on this web team and I was pushing back to where I got kicked off the web team by the head of creative services coming over to my desk and he tapped me on the shoulder. I was, plugged in and listening to music. He's like, hey man, so we're going to move you back over to creative services. They don't need you over here anymore. I was like, okay, cool. I was like, I'm going to wrap up. I was in the middle of 3 different projects. So I'm going to wrap this up real quick. He's like, cool. He walks over. 5 minutes later, he comes back. He was like, hey man, I need you to get your laptop and come on over right now. Like I had pushed back so much on the creative people on the web team that they were angry at me.
Please make him leave now. That's messed up, dude.
I went over there and the guy that was kind of in charge of me, one of the managers, I looked at him and I was like, what about those 3 projects? Do I need to go over there and finish those up? And he went, no. And started giggling. I was like, oh, God, okay.
That's
like, okay. And I told the engineers that and they really liked it.
Dude.
I was like, no, I love what I do and I work hard to be good at it. And
And I
if you're
think
going to,
passionate about that is great.
yeah, if you're going to tell me to not do something because it doesn't make sense to you and you just don't want to listen to me, then I'm not going to like it.
Well, that's also where the other thing is like if you're in a position of leadership and you're over a bunch of creatives, and the only reason you can give me for not doing what I'm working, like for not doing something, is that you don't like it.
Yeah.
Even if it is the right solution, even if it does work and it solves the problem, you not like it shouldn't make it like that subjectivity needs to go.
Yeah.
You know, I think that is where people get hung up is they're like this, like, well, I don't like it. You need to change it. And I'm like, well, why?
Yeah.
Did it solve the problem?
Yeah.
Is it a good solution for that problem? Then why, it shouldn't matter if you like it or not. It's not for you. It's for the people that we're serving, and I think people forget that sometimes.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
More positive. Is there anyone you would like to work with?
That I haven't done, that I haven't worked with?
Drink like could be Bruce Springsteen. Who knows? Could be whomever.
I mean, so many people that I would love to do work with. I mean, other designers or like corporations, or what are we talking about?
Anybody.
I'd love to work with Alan Peters.
Okay.
The world of him. I'd love to collab on a project with Draplin because he's just hilarious. And I beat him in arm wrestling, so there's that.
This guy, this schmuck, yeah,
dude, he's gonna get you for that. I know he will get you somehow.
I have a photo of me palming his head right here,
dude. One of my favorite all-time photos of me and him is at Adobe Max. We got up, like, he's done this with several other people, but I'm a big, you've met me. I'm a big old, and like nose to nose with him, like we're gonna fight each other. You know the pose that he does with some.
Oh yeah.
Like when I'm doing it, it's like this. Like here's Draplin. I'm like looking down on him by a little bit.
Yeah.
And funny because we're both like if you put me and him in you in the same room, it's the 1,000-pound club. Like, let's just be honest. Like, it is what it is. I'd like to do some work with him sometime. Goodness gracious.
One of mine is a Georgia staple, Waffle House. I would love to do artwork.
100%. Let's go.
Yeah.
The Georgia Bulldogs, which I've reached out to try to get in with them. I'd love to do some work for them. I've done work for the Falcons before. I'd love to do work for the Atlanta Braves. I think that'd be fun. I had one on the tip of my tongue that was so dope. I'd love to do some work. I'd love to do some work with Brandios. They do a lot of the minor league baseball logos across the planet. They also do Clink Room. That's who does the.
On that level, I have a buddy, my buddy Adam Kennedy, and I obsess over minor league baseball hats, and we buy a lot.
Bro.
Oh my God.
Let's go with them boiled peanuts. The boiled peanuts, bro. Let me tell you, when I say I have hats, that's why I like the Clink Room so much. There's all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I've got so many, but like minor league baseball, they're, you know how they'll do a team, like the Timber Rattlers have their like snake or whatever. And then one time, I think it was the Timber Rattlers minor league team. They'll do a one-off game night where they change their name, they change their look, they change everything for one night only. You can buy the hat and what they rebranded it as this cow with a bell, and they called it the Udder Tuggers. And it was like a cow with the udders, and it's like the whole hat is like it's hold on, I'll show it to you. Hold on one second. Let me go off the wall. Hold on. This is one of my favorite minor league hats of all time, bro. Besides the Peanuts one that I have on. Here, let me show you this. All right, seriously, look at that.
I know. I've seen that one.
This is the Udder Tuggers hat. Now
Oh,
tell me that's not a
oh,
dopest hat you've ever seen,
oh, God.
right?
It's also the color the pattern
The
makes it.
whole hat is so well done. So like I really love this kind of stuff, and I would like to do a lot more of that.
Yeah,
With Brandios does a lot of this stuff. They did this one.
amazing.
I'd like to do a lot of that one. This is this hat I'm about to put on is a clink room hat. So the clink room has this on the back of it instead of minor league baseball, has the
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
This is I want to say it's like sushi swingers or something like that.
Oh my God.
It's dope, right? Look at that underbill, bright lime green. Like, it's just a sick looking hat. That's the kind of stuff that I think would be a lot of fun to do when I think of like projects. And yeah, I mean, there's so many, man. I have lists of artists that I'll follow everywhere that I would just be fun to do projects with.
Yeah.
Um, so many to even think of. Those are just some quick ones off the top of my head.
So in that vein, do you set goals or have a checklist of like stuff you want to do?
I'm horrible about that. I barely get by. Like I have so many things going on with family and work and Creative South and the foundation and you know, but at the same time, like this particular year, I've said, okay, like I've got my goals for work, and a lot of those kind of carry over to like freelance too, because I want to at least get 3 hats in Clink Room is this year's goal. Like, so I want to collaborate with. There's one designer in Mexico named Jacobo that I probably own 7, 8 of his hats that he just designed from the Clink Room, and I would love to collaborate with him. And he's just the way that he thinks, the way he sketches. Like I just like his vibe. Phil Hauser's another guy that does a lot of cool stuff on Clink Room that I'd like to collaborate with him sometime. So there's so many things. I mean, I'd love to collaborate with the Hoods and bringing some of my fonts to life because they're
Oh,
so
yeah.
good. You know, yeah, I would love to collaborate with Britt Davis. Man, she's brilliant, and some of the stuff she does with her Atlanta brand,
Yeah.
like this peach.
Yeah.
I don't think of the name of it right this second, but I would love to collaborate with her on some stuff. Yeah, man. I mean, the list is on and on, but you know what? You reminding me to set the goals. I'm gonna write it out, and
Okay.
we're gonna have the same conversation at the end of the year.
So here, add this on there too. What would
Yeah.
you like to do in the next 10 years?
In the
So
next 10 years,
Yeah.
oh man, I'd like to build a cabin in the mountains and live off the grid. I'd like to add to my already crazy property and have I'd like to build a container home out of a shipping container.
Yeah.
Those two things for some reason just sound like a good time to me and a
Okay.
lot of hard work, but I think it'd be fun to like do something that's not the norm. Like you always see like here's a shipping container and they made it into a house. Whoop de do. Like let's put that sucker on 30-foot stilts and stick it in the middle of some forest and not tell anybody it's there, I would like to take a giant boulder. I'm just making stuff up off the top of my head, but this sounds fun to me. I would like to take a giant boulder and put a sword in it, like Sword in the Stone,
Yeah.
and stick it out in the middle of my woods, but have it lit up where like solar lights would light it up at night. So like from the distance, you would see some sword in the woods.
Oh my God.
It would freak out. Like I think it'd be hilarious because you could see it from all the houses that live around us, but then they would like, what is in the woods lit up? And then people would go out there and there would be like a Sword in the Stone kind of vibe. I don't know. I just think it'd be funny. That's totally random. I would like to I'd like to open a restaurant, a
Okay.
really 20 seats max, open from like 10 to 2 until we're sold out from Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That's the only time we can come eat there for
Okay.
starters. Just do some simple, like a simple sandwich menu or there's 10 items. That's the only 10 items what we're gonna have. That one of them might change out every year as a special or something, but it's like something we're really good at and just make really good whatever it is. If it's barbecue, if it's sandwiches, if it's whatever, but it's just simple menu and just serve other people like that. I think that'd be amazing.
Okay.
Or
There's
like do a food truck would be cool.
There was a point where I was really wanting to do a diner in the heart, 24-hour diner in the heart of downtown Knoxville.
Why aren't we collaborating on this stuff, man? I'm being serious. Dude, it's like two peas in a pod right here. Two
This was-
giant peas in a giant pod. Why are we not doing
It's going to
something?
have to be the biggest food truck ever.
We could call it that.
We're going to have to get some heavy duty shocks and struts on that thing.
Heavy duty. Just call it heavy duty.
But there was a time like
Spell
downtown.
like Doodie.
Oh, God. That's the mascot for the hat, the duty. Oh God. So there was a time downtown where it wasn't as busy, and there was an Arby's that had been there since I was like a little kid. But it was this massive like shotgun Arby's. And I was like, if I had all the money and time in the world, I would
Yeah.
convert that into a diner. Because it had this great glass down the side, like, but it's
Diner.
like, again, I grew up poor, so it was like, there's no way I can make this happen. Yeah,
I wear this because of the Waffle House,
yeah.
and I made it because of that.
And I think that now I want to go eat that kind of food. Thanks, man.
But
Like, it's time for the Waffle House. Appreciate it. My wife's gonna be irritated about it. She's like, "Why are you going at 8:30 at night to eat a Waffle House?" Because he told me I should go do it. I'm blaming it on you. What's happening? He
Oh,
said,
Jody's fault.
Go do it. Tell her you're going to eat there anyway. Get the hash browns the way you like them. How do you take your hash browns at Waffle House? Go.
I'm trying to find my sticker. Crap, I don't have any up here. I actually have stickers that are Feral Giant in the Waffle House sign.
"Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I like
Jason Craig does Crunk Friday like that on a coffee mug, I think.
So
Yeah.
I am chunked, peppered,
okay.
covered. I think I can never remember if it's covered or smothered that is the cheese. Covered. It's covered.
Yeah.
Smothered is onions.
Onions.
So ham, jalapenos, and cheese.
Cheese, ham, jalapenos, and cheese. Mine is scattered, covered, smothered, topped, and diced.
Holy crap. Okay.
And so that's it's messy with onions, cheese, tomatoes, and a scoop of chili on top.
Yeah.
And let me tell you all, put some mayonnaise on the side of that,
Oh God.
and then cover it in ketchup, and then get a whole like bowl of pickles. And man, that's a meal right there, bro.
So I will say this is years ago. This has probably been not 20 years, but at least like 15 or 16 years. I went into a Waffle House and I was like, oh, I'm gonna get this, I'm gonna get this, and I'm gonna get a waffle. And she was like, have you ever had a blueberry waffle? It's like, I have not. And she was like, if you do, you'll never not get a blueberry waffle whenever
Is that
you
for
go.
real?
And their blueberry waffles are legit. But it's hard to find. Some stores don't have the blueberry waffle. I can't figure that out. That's
I
the
know
one
where the one here does. I know the
Yeah.
exact one I can go to that has it because she offered it one time and I passed. Because I'm real particular about my waffles. My granddad used to make me waffles when I was growing
Okay.
up, like when we were real little, and he would do it like from scratch, mix and all that. And they were like fluffy on the inside but crunchy on the outside. And Waffle House waffles, while they're good, they're always like, I think it's a lot of times because we get takeout from there, you know.
Yeah,
But and then, so they steam them, they get steamed in the thing, the container, and like this, they're good, but they're like floppy and kind of just floppy. I don't want to crunch your waffle. Does that make sense?
yeah.
I always tell them like, hey, can you just leave it in there a little longer? I don't want it to be burnt, but I don't want it to be floppy. A
I'm
waffle
trying to-
needs to have a little crispiness to it.
Trying to remember who it was. Maybe it was my mom that when she would make them, they would be the ones with the deep pockets, and it was like the top would be good and crunchy.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
man, that is the waffle right there.
Yeah.
But what's your go, like? I know we talked about hash browns, but and we're completely off subject, but this is fun.
Yeah.
What is your meal like? What do you like? You're gonna go there and order this 9 times out of 10. What is it?
Oh, it's just a triple hash brown with that. Like
That's it?
But that's it.
No
But-
way. No like
but-
sandwich or burger or nothing.
No, if I go in the morning, I'll do hash browns like that. And then I'll usually get a waffle and maybe biscuits and gravy with a side of sausage. Like,
Oh,
I am a breakfast person there. I am not a sandwich person there.
I love breakfast there, and if I'm gonna get breakfast, I'm doing cheese eggs with onions in them, which is like scrambled, or I'm gonna do eggs over medium,
Okay.
do the hash browns like I just said, and then probably bacon and sausage
Yeah.
and toast because I like the way they do the butter in the middle. I'm such a weirdo, but mine go to 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna get a chicken melt.
Okay.
That's my sandwich with a side of hash browns. I'd say 9 times out of 10, that's what I'm gonna get.
Okay. I do not like eggs. So breakfast is really hard for me because every place serves everything with eggs. I was like, I don't want eggs.
You like grits?
I do like grits,
Some people they're like right now listening to this podcast, like, what's grits?
but they
What-
got to be made right. Like
Oh,
you can mess
100%
up grits. Yeah. Yeah.
Theirs are good.
Yeah.
But yeah, if they're gross, and you'll know if you have bad grits. Let's just say that.
That is
You'll
one.
know if you have really good grits too.
That is one thing I love that chicken and waffles became a thing because then you could get chicken and waffles without having to worry about getting eggs with that because it's so much food.
That's a great meal combo, period.
God, yeah.
Well,
So,
why doesn't Waffle House do that? Think about that.
So I'll give you the other. So here in Knoxville, I grew up in the black community here.
Okay.
Like I was usually the only white dude. One thing I got taught in that community is you take your maple syrup and you pour a little bit of hot sauce in it and you mix
All
it
day.
up.
All day.
And I show that to some people and they're like, what? How did you? I was like, that was growing up in the black community. Like,
Been to have you been to the chicken and waffle place in Atlanta?
yes, the breakfast kitchen, whatever it's called.
Atlanta Breakfast Club, ABC.
Yep.
Bro, their chicken and waffle is legit.
I had
on Peachtree also. It's the famous singer. She has a chicken and waffle place. She's a famous singer.
Gladys Knight, maybe.
Yes, Gladys.
Oh, really? Okay.
Their chicken and waffles is fantastic too.
Okay, I'll have to look that up.
Roscoe's in California out in LA is fantastic also.
Okay,
I'm gonna find it's there, bro. You know I'm gonna find it.
Oh,
we're gonna do it. We're doing a meal. We're gonna do a meal meetup.
Yeah.
Tennessee, go eat.
Well, that's me and donuts and coffee. Like
we'll make the rounds. Let's do all.
Because it's so funny. Somebody will talk to me about some city. I was like, okay, you're going there. You need to go to this donut shop. Like, I'm serious.
The same way, but it's usually like, oh no, oh yeah, that's what that one barbecue place is. Yeah. Like I'm with barbecue like that.
Yeah.
That's
okay. Is there any museum or magazine or anywhere you would like to see your work published?
Ooh.
And that can even be website because I know, with Dribbble being a big part.
I mean, wow. Museum or publication. Oh, yeah. Well, now, because I just learned about it, but I'd like to get in branded.
Okay.
Yeah. Like Bernard just got in there.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, this is a cool magazine. And then I did a little more deep dive into it. I was like, that'd be a fun one to get in. And I got in Logo Lounge 13. Is it 13? Yeah, 13 and 14. I got in both of those. That was cool. And then I've been in a couple of Von Glitchka's books. That was cool. Museum wise, I think it'd be cool to be in the High Museum just because it's in Atlanta and that's a big Georgia thing,
Yeah.
Or the Columbus Museum because that's my hometown. So to have a piece that was in there, like a permanent piece, would be neat to see that. But you don't typically see design work in museums like that. But publication wise, I think that'd be fun. Yeah, I don't know. Past that, I haven't really thought of design website wise. Never really thought about it.
I got to go. I actually went partially for this. I went to the Henry Ford Museum in Detroit to see the House Industries Andy Cruz exhibit.
Dude,
it was amazing.
That's funny you mentioned. It's funny you mentioned that.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Wait.
Oh, nice.
I met him last year at Crop. And,
okay.
He signed my book.
It was so
Real
fun because I took my uncle who lives outside of Detroit, who's a former teacher, and he was like, okay. Like he was walking around kind of like, okay, okay. I was like, no, no, no. You don't understand. This is the
That's
like,
so fun. It is true though. Like
Yeah.
we geek out over some of the
Yeah.
funnest. I catch my wife now going, I know that font. You know, when we're
Oh,
driving down the
nice.
road, I'm like, you have hung out with me for way too many years.
I get the opposite of that when we used to play poker more. I played poker with my dad and uncle since I was 8, and we would go to Hooters beforehand and eat because we were
Okay,
idiots.
classic.
And
Let's go.
and I would be critiquing the menu, and my dad would just be like, "What is wrong?" And I would be like 19 or 25. And I'm
Yeah,
like, they got double space here.
yeah.
He'd
Look,
be
it's
like,
turning. It's off. Oh, thanks for those wings.
yeah. It's like,
It's
what is wrong with you, boy?
That's so messed up.
All right, big last question.
Uh-oh.
If you could talk to the 14-year-old version of yourself, what would you tell them?
What would you tell them?
Yeah.
Man, that's a great question. A really great question. Because I think there's so many things you could go direction wise. But I think the biggest thing I would tell myself back then, and that's me saying this now, would be that put and keep God first, period. And the rest of it will all fall in place like it's supposed to. Not saying you're not going to have tough times, not saying you're not going to go through trials and tribulations, not saying none of that, but do it earlier than later. And I would also tell him that your don't let your 14-year-old emotions get the best of you, right? Like rein that in, check that at the door on a lot of things. Because I look back at a lot of things that upset me as a teenager, and I'm like, wow, like if what a waste of energy on, this or that or whatever, when I could have just moved forward and been and crushed it a different way. And then I would also probably tell, like, I'm thinking about myself then, and it would be like, let loose a little more now, as far as don't be as reserved in your personality. Don't care what so many people think about you at 14. Like right now, people, you think you got to be cool and you got to be this and you got to fit in, wear the right clothes and comb the right hair and do this and that, drive the right car and all. None of that matters. Who gives a crap what any of these people think?
Yeah.
Probably won't see half of them the rest of your life. Just enjoy you being you and what you enjoy and be kind to everyone. And I think if I had done more of those things then, I'd still be me. I'd be a different version of me, but I'd still be me. But I think it would have got to me a lot faster,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't go back and change anything that ever happened in any part of my life and ever because of all those things. I'm who I am now.
Yeah.
But if I could tell them those things, I think those are some of the things I would do it. And then last, I would probably say, it might not feel like time goes by fast, but it is. So like really take in every single moment for what it is and like really enjoy every single minute. Not wish you were older, wish you were this, wish you had, don't wish for things to come 5 years from now, because that 5 years of will pass you by in a flash. And I think the older I get, the more I realize I wish I had taken more time with like certain parts of my life to be really more intentionally in the moment of what was going on. So I say like be intentional with your moments. Well, I would tell them that.
Okay. That's good. Well, thank you so much for being on.
I'm trying. Yeah, that's all. That's it.
Yep. Thank you.